show is sponsored by HiveMind CRM. It is more than just a CRM. It is a real estate and business mastermind that comes with an all-in-one CRM. You can have unlimited websites and users. You can call, text, RVM, and email all in one user interface. And you can set up custom automations for any type and multiple businesses. 65% of companies start using a CRM system within the first 5 years of business. Once implemented, the HiveMind will save you on marketing, give you more time, and make more money. One of our users had his first $100,000 month using our system in June. We want to see you automate and accelerate your business. Text us at 210-972-1842 for future meetings, and of course to get our $1 course on how to make more than 6 figures on one land deal. You can schedule your free demo today at hivemindcrm.io.
Welcome to today's show. I am your host, Daniel Martinez. I'm here with another episode. We're interviewing a special guest, Mr. Dustin Heiner. His whole thing is help people get into passive income and eventually retire. He's wearing a shirt that says successfully unemployed, and I hope people will strive to that. And here's our guest, Dustin Heiner. How are you doing today?
Hey, Daniel, I'm blessed, man. And I really appreciate you having me on the show. Yeah, I'm an investor. That's literally what I am, and was blessed to be able to quit my job when I was 37 years old. And I like the term successfully unemployed. And it really just, it's the freedom that it gives me. And, I go to the gym in the morning, I come back and, hang out on podcasts and talk to great people like you. So I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, man. How long have you been in real estate?
2006 is when I first got started.
So wow. Okay. So 15 years. 16 years now, about to be 17.
Yeah. And I mean, seeing obviously the run up back in 2006, I mean, it was still hype and craziness. And then the crash in 2008, and I couldn't buy enough property. Like I was buying so many properties in 2009, 10, 11, 12. I just kept buying properties, and each one for passive income. That's what I love, is passive income.
Yeah. I actually had a conversation with a Lyft driver the other day, and he was a mortgage originator. So I'm going to bring him on the podcast. And
Nice.
we talk about mortgage loans back in 2007, 2008 era. Because me personally, I've only been in this about 4 years.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of interesting seeing
it's
that.
Totally different.
Back years ago.
Well, I mean, the difference is we've, in the last, 12 years, we've only seen up markets.
100%.
Like it's always been great. And so I'm glad that I went through the crap, like 2010, sorry to be the crass, but like 9, 10, and 11, and so on. Like I've seen that, and then see what's happening now. And so not jumping into the hype where they're saying, you better buy now or you're never going to buy. Like, I've heard that before, and I've seen a lot of bad things come from it. So, it's definitely something. Like when I quit my job when I was 37 years old, I'm a little older now, I'm 43 now, but that's what comes with age. You get perspective. You get to see, like, you have experience of what's happened in the past, and you can mitigate problems that come in the future. That's what I do with all my students now. It's like, hey, this is what happened to me in the past, and this is what we could do to make sure that we're making money still every single month.
I think it was pretty cool. Like, even it's just you get wiser, and you've seen things. Like me, since I started 4 years ago, I'm like, crash is coming. You kind of learn the ebbs and flows of cycles. I'm like, it's coming. We're gonna do business right now, but I know it's coming. I'm ready. And we're gonna capitalize on the situation. And it's a 100% transfer of wealth, and it's knowing that it's coming and being ready to capitalize on it.
Oh, totally.
Because like there's different ebbs and flows, and this is one of the things that I thought was crazy was I learned about the stock market in the middle of the 2020. I didn't like, no education in the stock market before that, and I learned about stock market in 2020, and I'm like, man, this is amazing. And it was kind of one of the things where like that doesn't happen very often, and I didn't even know it was a thing till it happened, and it was just all read everywhere, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then like now looking back a year, 2 years later, I'm like, man, I even missed opportunity there because I didn't know exactly what was happening.
Totally. When I saw it come down in 2020, the stocks, I don't invest in stocks because I'm a real estate investor. I'm horrible at stock. I know how to buy high and sell low, which is opposite of what you want. So I don't play with that because I've been burned many times. But I saw it crash. I'm like, I know it's going to come back up. This is just crazy. So I really wanted to put my money in there, but I just know I would probably lose it. But I knew it was going to come back up. And then when it ran up so high, I'm like, well, I've seen this before. It's going to start coming down, which it has been. And so, yeah, so it's going to be right now is going to be the best time to invest in real estate, in my opinion. And here's the reason why, like, I'm really big on trying to help people to learn how to do it, because imagine if you're going to go surfing and you want to surf and you're out there trying to catch a wave. Well, if you start paddling after the wave has passed you, you're way too late. You need to start paddling before the wave gets to you so that you can catch that wave and ride it all in and make so much money. And that's what we're doing with real estate investing. And that's why I love getting on podcasts, just sharing, hey, this is absolutely possible. And the best time to invest is coming up very, very soon.
So let's kind of dive into that. So how'd you get into real estate, and what's that kind of that beginner process that you went through back in 2007?
Yeah. So definitely. Now, uh, really quickly to the end, when I was 37 years old, I was blessed to be able to quit my job because I have enough rental properties to quit my job. I had 30 plus properties, each one making me $250 or more. Remember, that's just the minimum
Yeah.
of $250 a month in passive income. Eventually I had enough money. I was like, why am I still working here? Well, I got to tell you the story of what really catapulted me to get into real estate investing. Now, all my life, I've always been entrepreneurial, starting businesses and all that sort of stuff. In fact, I had a newspaper route. That's where you have newspapers and bags on your bike. You're riding around and you throw them at 5 a.m. and bang them on garage doors, waking people up. I had that. I had a graphic and website design company. I started a skateboard manufacturing business, a pizzeria, and a convenience store, all from scratch, building them up. But I was always taught, just like we're all taught, the same path for life. You go to school, you get good grades. You take those good grades, you go to college and get thousands and thousands of dollars into debt. And then you get that piece of paper, that degree that they give you, and you try to go from job to job to try to get a career that you can work 40 plus years of your life and then hopefully retire when you are 65 years old, and hopefully retire on what you managed to save your money that entire time. So I'm doing that same thing. So I get a job at the local county government in California. I try to find the most secure, stable job I could ever find. California, county government, like local government, that's not going away. California's not going away. The government's not going away. And technology. I was doing technology, like the most secure job I could ever get. And so I start working that job, and I'm starting businesses, but they're not enough for me to quit my job. And so my wife and I buy one rental property, and my mind was blown, like $250. In fact, my first check was $317. I was like, oh my goodness, I need more of these. But you know how it happens. Life gets in the way. My wife and I started having child after child. Our businesses were getting busier, and things were happening. Like, just didn't have time. And so life got in the way. And then this is the story. This is literally what like just catapulted me or just shocked me into this. My wife had our fourth child, and I went on paternity leave. That's right after the baby's born. The dad stays home with the mom, changes poopy diapers, and bonds with the baby and all that good stuff. And after that 2 weeks, I go back to work. And in that week, I go back to work. I get a call from my boss's secretary, like the top dog. She says, Dustin, would you please come in the office? And I said, sure. And I hung up the phone. And this is Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon. And I thought to myself, this isn't normal. Why are they calling me the office? And I've seen plenty of movies. Friday at 3:30 is not a good time to be called to the boss's office. And I started thinking back, and I remembered before I went on paternity leave, there was some rumors or some rumbling going on that there could potentially be layoffs. And I immediately shook that off. And I said, there's no way. I've had 12, 13 years seniority here, most stable job I could ever get. My boss is giving me a raise all the time. Shook it off. And I get up and I walk down the hallway to my boss's office. Now, this hallway isn't very long, Daniel. In fact, it's kind of short. But every single step that I take, it feels like the hallway gets longer and longer and longer. And it feels like my feet become lead bricks because the weight of possibly losing my job starts crushing down on me. Well, I get down the hallway and I turn the corner and I see my boss's door. His door's closed, and I see a secretary there, super sweet, nice old lady. And she is looking at me, kind of consoling me with her eyes, sheepishly grinning at me. And she says, Dustin, would you please have a seat? Because she knows everything about what's going on. I know nothing about what's going on. So I go and I take my seat. And I sit down and I start thinking about my life. And if I lose my job right now, that whole plan that I was taught from from when I was born, did I just waste my life on this plan? And oh my goodness, if I can't work, I can't make money, I can't feed my family. We just had our fourth child. What is that like? Does that make me a failure as a father? Does that make me a failure as a husband, as a man trying to provide for his family? Well, as I'm sitting, my hands get all clammy, my forehead gets all sweaty because the weight of everything is just crushing down on me. Well, the door to my boss's office opens up. Out walks a coworker of mine, a lady, coworker of mine, with a piece of paper in her hands. She is noticeably distraught, noticeably upset. She's not necessarily crying, but you could tell her world has been just devastated. She passes by me. My boss says, Dustin, would you please come into the office? So I get up and I go into his office and I get laid off. And remember, this is the government. Nobody gets fired or laid off from the government, but I did. So I tell the story because there's two lessons that I learned. Well, I take that layoff notice and I go back and I sit down at my desk, just getting laid off. And I start thinking, okay, number one, first lesson I learned, I need to get another job. I need to be able to provide for my family. So I was really, really blessed. Praise the Lord to be able to find another job in the same county. Whole nother department, wasn't having the issues. So check. Moved over there. Everything worked out great. But the second thing that I realized sitting in that chair was that I need to make sure that's never, ever happens to me again. I need to make sure nobody has the ability to take away my ability to feed my family. So right then and there, I realized that whenever anybody would ask me the question, Dustin, what do you do? Usually I would reply, oh, I work for the county. I do IT work for the county. Well, I'm basically projecting my value in myself as coming from my job. No, my value doesn't come from my job. My value comes from my God, from myself, and from my family. And so I realized right then and there, no longer will I tell anybody that my job is what I value about myself. I now will tell them I am an investor, which means now I'm projecting my value as I'm an investor. It may so happen that 100% of my money comes from my job. That's now my part-time job. I am a full-time investor. Fast forward the story, I started buying property after property after property, each one making me a minimum of $250 a month in passive income. Eventually, I had 30 plus properties and I realized, man, even though I'm making $75,000 a year here at this job, I'm losing money. So the last part of the story, I went to my new boss, good boss and all. And I said, hey, boss, I'm laying you off. Like, here's your 2 weeks notice, in a joking way. And he said, Dustin, what are you going to do? I said, well, I don't have to do anything. I own real estate that makes me money without working. So the last part of the story, I'd taken this walk from my job to my car 1,000 times. There's a 1.5 mile walk. I worked in downtown. I didn't want to pay for parking. So I've taken this 1,000 times. Well, if you remember that short hallway that I walked, that the hallway got longer and longer and longer. My feet became like lead bricks. Well, I walked to my car for the very, very last time. I felt like I was walking on clouds because I knew I would never, ever need a job again, because now my value is on myself. Now, everybody needs to hear this. Your value is so much more than anybody could ever pay you. In fact, your boss is only paying you. This is how you know you're worth so much more than anybody could ever pay you. Your boss is paying you just enough to keep you working without quitting, but not so much money as taking money out of their pocket. So if they paid you for what you're worth, they'd go broke. So what we need to realize is that our value is so much more than anybody could ever pay you. So I'll pause the story because you probably got plenty of questions.
There's a couple things in there, but I always make the joke about, like, people always, like, they condescend, like, oh, entrepreneurs are just unemployed. I'm like, yeah. So whenever people ask me as condescending back to them, I say I'm unemployed too. So, and it's one of those things where, like, knowing your own value, you don't see it overnight, but it's once you see it, you're like, man, why do I come to work anymore?
Absolutely, because you know that you're worth so much more than they can pay you. They can't pay you what you're worth. In fact, because I quit, like I said, I was making $75,000 a year at that job, and I realized I was losing money because this is taking 40 plus hours of my life that I could be devoting to something else. Now, fast forward, I've been successfully unemployed for over 5 years now, maybe 5.5 years. Now I literally have, including my real estate business, I have 4 other businesses that make me money all the time. And so because I have so much extra time, I'm able to build more business. And now I have employees that work for me all over the place. And so, yes, that's what is so great is once you realize how much how much valuable you are for your company, then you're going to realize, oh my goodness, if I pay myself, I'm going to make so much more money.
For everybody out there, like, entrepreneurship isn't for everybody. Like, it's not for everybody, but it's just building up to your position. Like, one thing I'll commend you for is doing real estate for that long to get to that point where you can walk away 100%. Because it's hard. It's hard, and it's hard to even start that, and it's hard to continue that just to even get to a point where you can retire.
Totally. Yeah. For me, and I'll tell you the wrong way that I did it, thinking about the first deal, I was doing what the quote unquote gurus were telling you to do. So I bought my first property and my property manager started stealing from me within 6 months. It was horrible. Like, I was like, what is going on? Like, this shouldn't happen. And so I realized that I was or told the wrong way. Now, this is how I started. So it was back in 2006 when I first started investing, and I was watching like a late night TV. It was like 2 a.m. Those infomercials that come on. Hey, we're coming to your town. Here's a 2-hour seminar. It's for free. So I went to that. I went to that 2-hour seminar. It was all hype, all sales pitch. And they say, okay, here's 2 hours of this. And they say, here's our program. It's normally $30,000, but if you run to the back right now, it'll be $1,000. So I did that. I ran to the back. This is 2006. Ran to the back, all excited, and paid $1,000. It was for another 2-day seminar on top of that. I went to that 2-day seminar. It was literally all hype, all sales pitch for their $50,000 course, their $80,000 course. It was just nuts. It was, and this is 2006. And so with that, I said, well, I'm going to take what little they taught me and see if I could do it. So this is what they told me how to buy it. And like I said, my property manager started stealing from me within 6 months. But this is what got me to where now I can scale my business to be able, like you said, quit my job and stick with it. Well, the first way, I'll tell you the wrong way. This is what they quote unquote gurus tell you, but I'll tell you, easily forget it. They say, find a property anywhere in the country to invest, and then you run the numbers. Make sure you account for your expenses, run the numbers, make sure you make a little bit of money in passive income, like $50 in passive income, but you'll get appreciation, which is what you'll love, which I'll pause this and say, I don't invest for appreciation. In fact, I'll give these properties to my kids in generational wealth. They will get these. I invest for cash flow. So I'll never even sell these properties. I'll give them to my kids. But getting back to the wrong way, find an area of the country to invest, run the numbers, make sure you're making a little money in passive income, you'll make appreciation, and then you spend thousands of dollars to fix up or to buy the property, then spend thousands of dollars to fix up the property, then you find a tenant, and then you find a property manager. Well, in my opinion, that's just about backwards. I did that, and my property manager started stealing from me because I didn't build the business first. You'll hear me, I say this all the time. We build the business first. And what it looks like is the gurus tell you, you buy one property, that property is your business. No. I own a business that owns properties. And so I'll give you an example of what that looks like. If you're going to start a convenience store, a convenience store, candy bars, soda machines, and all that good stuff. Well, you're not going to sign a lease on a location, open the doors, and set a box of candy bars in on the ground. No, you wouldn't do that. You go out of business in 2 seconds. But what you would do is you'd build the business first. You get the gondolas, those shelving units that you put all the candy bars on. You get the countertops, the cold storage, cash registers, bank accounts, insurance, employees, all the things in the business first before you buy any inventory. Same thing with real estate investing. We build the entire business, and every property that we buy is a piece of inventory that we put into our business. And then to scale the business, all we do is find another piece of inventory and then put that into our business so that it runs itself. If you did what the gurus, quote unquote gurus, tell you to do, and then you find a property manager at the very end, you're calling around, hey, property manager, I have this property. Would you manage this property? I've heard this many times from people. They would say, no, I'm not going to manage that property. I'll get shot if I go in that area. Then you no longer have an asset anymore. You have a liability. So what we do is we build the business with all the right people. They make sure that we buy the right properties. Like, give example, quick example. If you were to say, property manager, after you buy the property, will you manage it? They say, no, I'm not going to manage it. Well, you jump the gun. Why not ask them first? You say, property manager, I'm looking to buy this property. Tell me how much it could rent for. Tell me what type of clientele, the vacancy factor, and will you manage it? If they say no, I won't manage it, then why would you buy it? Because you can't have somebody manage it. What you would do is, if they tell you all the ins and outs, like how much you could rent it for, make sure that your expenses are lower. My suggestion is $250 a month. Then you buy the property. Then they manage it. They handle the rehab. They handle the getting the tenants in there. They handle everything, and you make money in passive income. So that's how I was able to scale my business. And I started in California. I lived in California, but I bought in Ohio. Now, since I invest in Ohio, Texas, and Arizona, because it's a business. As long as we build the business, we hire experts. They do all the work. We don't do any work because they do it all. Does that all make sense?
100%. I have a question about your property manager. How is he stealing from you as far as like through calls, maintenance calls? Like that?
Totally. So it came in the form of fake expenses and not having the numbers add up. Like, your expenses should equal up. If you have a receipt and line up, let's say 8 receipts or 2 receipts, that total from those 2 receipts should be shown as expense. Well, those wouldn't add up. The rents would fluctuate way too much. There would be like, I would get a receipt. It would be different on the property management statement than the receipt, as the property management statement says, more or less, I can't remember, but doing work that wasn't need to be done. So many different things. Like, it was horrible. They just were stealing from me because I jumped the gun. I didn't build the business. It'd be like if you started that same convenience store and you're about ready to start and open the doors, and you grab somebody off the street and say, hey, you have a pulse. Come on in, manage my money, manage my customers, manage my inventory, manage my business, without interviewing them, without making sure that they can actually do it. That's what I did. That's what I was told by the gurus. Well, we don't do that anymore. What I do and my students do is, and here's a tip, is we hire slow, but fire fast. We hire very slow. We don't want to just jump into bed with a property manager, metaphorically, jump into bed with a property manager, having them run our properties if we can't trust them, if they can't do it for 10, 20, 30 years. In fact, I have property managers I've been with since the very beginning. So we find the right property managers, and hopefully we won't have to talk to them. They won't have to, we give them the systems and procedures and processes. And a lot of people have heard of the book, The 4 Hour Work Week. It's a good book and all, but I think working 4 hours a week is for suckers. I don't want to work 4 hours a week. I don't even want to work 4 hours a month. I maybe work 30 minutes a month. All I do is I basically pull up my property management statements, make sure everything looks good, and then put them away and go back to play with my kids. And so the reason why I'm able to do that is because I built the business, but then I put systems and procedures and processes in place so that they know how to run my business. Like Trulia is not an expert. Zillow is not an expert. All these companies, like these online companies, databases, they're not experts. Who are the experts? The people literally living there on the ground. They are the experts. They're going to help you run the business right.
How do you find boots on the ground in out-of-state markets since you live in California?
Oh my goodness. So when I first started in 2006, it was horribly hard. The internet was not as prevalent as it is today. Now they're everywhere. Now there's companies that try to do these things for you. So my suggestion is, well, the easiest way right now is looking on, well, obviously Google and Yelp, type in the word property manager, whatever city, and hopefully you'll find them. But I'll give you some other key ways to do it. Well, if you go onto Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or someplace where you see homes for rent, well, here's like a kind of trick to do it. If you're finding homes for rent in that area and you see the same phone number on, like, let's say 2, 3, 4 listings, that might be a property manager, or it might be a realtor that's a leasing agent that might know property managers. What it really comes down to, if you don't know, you need to talk to as many people as possible. So I read the Bible, and the Bible says wisdom comes from many counselors. And so I try to get as many people to give me information. And that's how I run my business remotely without having to worry about my business, because I have everybody checking on each other, everybody giving me insights and understanding and counsel. And so what happens is I put in my brain to figure out what's the best course of action and then make that decision. So right now, the best way, Google and Yelp, looking at property managers, looking up their websites. But like I've said this before all the time, like property managers, anybody can put on a hat and say they're property manager. But the good ones, you need to really interview them. And here's the thing. If you're going to find somebody that's going to run your business, you're not going to just grab them off the street. No, you're literally going to interview them. So to find them, go, like I said, be creative. You can use Google and Yelp, Craigslist. You can use Facebook Marketplace, call up leasing agents. There's creative ways to do it. I teach my students how to do all this stuff as well, like much more with that. What you also want to do is you want to interview them slowly. I suggest interviewing them a minimum of 2 or 3 times, talking to them on the phone. Like texting is not interviewing, emailing is not interviewing, a phone call is interview. So that's the way that we find the right property manager. The property manager is your quarterback of your team. If you don't have a good manager, you're going to be up at night rather than sleeping soundly.
Now, do you find property managers in different areas that cover different areas, or area specific, or you have one property manager that manages all your properties in that city or state?
So each city, I have different property managers. I make sure that each property manager covers whatever city. Now, if I have one good property manager that covers 2 different cities because they're pretty close, then I'll go ahead and use them. But each area, we build a brand new business in every single city that is separate from the original one that we're currently working with.
Have you ever seen any of these properties?
Oh, good question. No, out of 30 plus properties, no, I literally only seen one of them.
Yeah, I think it's funny because like we do land virtually, and like we never see the properties.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing: realtors will tell you it's location, location, location. Well, that's garbage. Like we investors, we don't care about that stuff. In fact, we'll definitely never live in those properties, most likely, unless something bad happens, God forbid. But we'll never live in those properties. Might even never even care to see that state, let alone that city. With that, there are other people that will. My tenants love the properties because I give them a good place to live, give them a good rent so that they can provide for their family, and I make money. See, what I love about passive income is if I make a minimum of $250 a month, well, that is $3,000 a year in passive income. 10 properties at $250 a month, that's $2,500 a month in passive income. That's $30,000 a year without working. 20 properties is $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year. We just keep scaling it up from there.
Yeah, it's definitely an acquisition. A lot of acquisitions. So how many doors do you have right now?
Well, I have syndications as well, but over 30 doors. single family homes. And I also like residential, so 4 units and below. But I also have syndications, like just invested in a couple hotels, which is a lot of fun as well. But yeah, so I mean, all real estate investing is good. You just need to get around the experts that do it. Like I don't want to do multifamily. So I find the people that want to do my multifamily that have done it before, and I invest with them. So yeah, so right now 30 plus properties now, and I want to say, yeah, they're a blessing. Each one making me $250 a month in passive income. That's the minimum. Some are making $500, $600, $700. In fact, through COVID, my rents just skyrocketed. So it's going very well.
Yeah, and that's one of the things where, like, even with COVID, like you have to get that churn to renew the up the rates, or you have the moratorium where you can't raise rents a certain amount per thing. So you have to have that little bit of churn to get your rent rates up. Have you
Well,
seen any?
not every state. Not every city's different. Every state's different. So where I invest, I never had any of those issues. Like if you have
Oh,
Oregon, the state will have like a cap of how much you can rent it or raise it up each month. Other states where I invest, they don't have those things. And big thing, people ask me, well, how was COVID for you? Do you have nobody paying rents? I'm like, you know what? I was very, very concerned about that, but
yeah,
literally had no problems whatsoever. And I coach hundreds, if not thousands of students. None of them had any issues with their tenants, as well as all the other friends that I have that are expert investors. They haven't had any issues. In fact, I would probably say at the very most, 2 or 3 different properties out of all the thousands that I know of from friends and students and all that I know of had an issue with COVID. Now, I'm not saying there weren't. I was just dumbfounded at how little there was. It was just like a normal everyday thing. In fact, it's different. Everybody had to stay home, so they couldn't go anywhere. So they had to pay. It worked out really well. I didn't have any issues whatsoever.
no, it's amazing. I have a client who's a property manager in Texas, and he manages like 500 units, and he was helping some of his clients through because I guess Texas had like a rebate program for people that filed for COVID, so the state was paying some months that the tenant didn't pay, so he was helping people collect funds from the state versus the tenant themselves. So it's interesting places and states' procedures,
Totally.
municipalities. They're all different, completely
Well, a
different.
big thing, I really enjoy Section 8 too. People might not like Section 8, but I like it because they take care of my property. Section 8 inspects the property, make sure the tenants are taking care of the property, and I
Yeah,
make money like clockwork. And I'm helping out a family that needs help, the assistance of the government, and they pay like clockwork, which is just awesome. And the services, not service, the government has this in place. So if you can take advantage of it, help a family, might as well do it.
yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I only we do a lot of land investing, so I only have the one house that I own that I lease purchased out, so I don't even manage that property.
Nice.
I just collect payments. I talk to him like once a year, so that's the other.
Good. Just like my property managers, I never want to talk to them. I just want to receive money for them. Just take care of my business. Let me go back to play with my kids.
Yeah, it's something about passive income that doesn't require your time or energy. That's the best.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially when you create a business. Like I said, you create a business that you give them the business systems and processes and procedures. They follow it and it goes the way you want it.
Yeah. So you do a lot of content creation. And you have a book out too, right?
Yeah, yeah, I do. It's called, and I'm not creative at all. Not creative. It says the name is How to Quit Your Job with Rental Properties. Straightforward, straight to the point. And so, but it's literally just because here's the reason why I wrote it. When I was quitting my job, I had so many friends, family members, friends from church, and even the coworkers asking me, "How are you quitting your job?" And I said, "Well, I invest in real estate." And the second question always came, "Can you show me?" And so I would start showing people, and I realized I actually enjoy doing this. Like this is pretty fun. I enjoy teaching people, and I love seeing how their lives change. But I realized that it takes so much time to teach somebody one on one. So I wrote a book, and I said, "Here, read this book." I gave it out to him. Read this book, and when you have questions that apply to you, then we can ask, because all these beginner questions, they're good questions, but they're the same. These are in here. But yeah, so I love now, like one of the things, like I said, with 40 plus hours of my life back, I literally created online businesses that make me money, that help other people. And with that, that's other streams of income. Now I love streams of income, but they flow into my river of income, which is my real estate investing.
Yeah. What other businesses do you have right now?
So I have 2 online businesses and my real estate investing business. I also have a gym that it's more gym programming, like working out type programming. And then I also have a conference. And so this conference It's a real estate investor conference. It's how actually a mutual friend of ours, Mike Cavagioni, he was a speaker at my conference. All that to say, I created this conference because number one, remember I had so many people wanting me to teach them, but then I created my online business to coach people how to do this. And then with that, I had all my students saying, Dustin, we're friends online. Like we're a community online. We want to get together. We want to have fun together and have an event. Can we do a meetup? And I thought that's a good idea, but I'm not somebody that does things halfway. I need to do it all the way. I thought I've got like 20 friends that are expert investors, either like in land investing to multifamily to apartment complex, Airbnb, all these other things. So I called up all them and I said, hey, I'm thinking about bringing my community, bringing your community, all of our communities, bringing us all together, create a conference. That's not the sales pitch one, like the run to the back. No, this is about community. Let's bring us all together, build a community. That's a conference that has sponsors, that just errs on the side of giving. Fast forward now, we had one, it was in March of 2022. Next year, it'll be May of 2023 here in Phoenix, Arizona, live in person. And it's all about community. But this is another business that I'm creating. And I have other people from managing to marketing to all that sort of stuff. But I create this business. It's more passive for me. I still have a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but I have other people doing the work. I'm on the business. Yeah. If you think of like the cash flow quadrant from Robert Kiyosaki, the business quadrant with this. So yeah, these are the businesses that are taking up my time, but it's fun for me, you know, as opposed to working for somebody else, building them value. Now I'm building value for myself and my family.
Yeah, 100%. The live event space, it's very interesting. We've been doing an annual event every year for 3 years now.
Awesome. How is it?
It's fun, man. Like I kind of like how you said it. It's community driven, and it's just a way to get the people in the community to come together and have some fun.
Totally. And I mean, it's expensive. Like I booked out of the hotel and I had to guarantee like $250,000 guaranteed for the hotel, from food and beverage to rooms. And this next year, 2024, it's $500,000. No, it's more than $500,000 guaranteed, because we're going to be a little bigger and everything. Oh my goodness. It's definitely a lot of risk, a lot of guarantee.
Yeah, people that want to go in the event space, you're going to lose money in most cases. You have to 100%. Lose money on paper first, or at least put up the money first.
Yep, absolutely. You know in your mind, okay, this money's gone. Just if you get it back, or not meaning get it back, but if you get to keep it, then that's a good sign.
Yeah, that's crazy. The room block is crazy.
Oh yeah. You're like guaranteeing how many rooms you can fill up, and if you don't fill it, you got to pay for it. It's just that's
so for everybody here that attends events and they have a room block, please book the room in advance, and please book the room for the allotted time. It helps the event coordinators tremendously.
Oh my goodness! I mean, it might cost you like.
Say it again. Please use the room block.
I agree. And it might cost you, like, let's say, because usually with a room block, that means the hotel blocks us a set of rooms, total number of rooms. Let's say you might be able to find something cheaper, like not as good a place, but you might find something cheaper, like $10, $20 cheaper a night. Well, that $20, I mean, number one, you're at the event, which that's where all the action is, which is number one. But number two, that, $20 that you're saving, it's not going to actually help you that much more, as opposed to being there with everybody. And it also helps the people that are putting it on, because man, it's such it's nerve-wracking. It's definitely gets you anxious. Like, are we going to fill up? Like, I think for this one, I guaranteed like 750 or maybe 1,000 rooms. I can't remember. It was a lot of rooms, I'm guaranteeing. So if they don't come, I got to pay that out of my pocket. So I'm praying we make it.
It's a hope and a prayer, 100%. That's why I really want to iterate that, because people that don't run events, they don't know these things.
Totally.
So we're people don't know. You got to say it out there sometimes.
And like the food and beverage too, I've guaranteed that I would spend $50,000 in food and beverage and 25% gratuity on top of that. So that is, what is that? Almost like 65. What's that?
Oh, it's like, yeah, it's like 60,000. Yeah,
$60,000. I'm like, oh my goodness, that is so much money.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy how much goes into it that most people will never understand.
Yeah, but it's a labor of love, like you were saying earlier when we got on the show. Labor of love, because I enjoy building community. I love connecting people, and I really love seeing people, their lives change. In fact, my number one goal in life now, first was to quit my job, but now my new goal is to help 1 million people achieve financial freedom, financial independence through investing in real estate or businesses or anything like that. So this is just one iteration of how I'm trying to help people.
No, I mentioned that a lot too, is that you always have to have your personal why, but then it comes bigger than that of your business why. And I think it's that I'm 100% right there, your business why, making a million people unemployed.
Yep. Successfully unemployed. Exactly.
You're terrible person. You're trying to get a million people unemployed. No, but it's such a big goal that a lot of people don't make big goals. So I appreciate the big aspirations, and community is so amazing. I love community. The impact that you make every day is priceless. You don't really know what it really is going to pay off or when it will pay off, but you know it's something that's impactful, that'll last, long lasting.
Totally.
That's crazy. So event in Phoenix, May 2023. What's that event called?
The Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference, and it's RUBCon, REWBCON.com, RUBCon.com.
RUBCon.com. Go check that out. Phoenix isn't too far away. It's like the hub where everybody does a lot of events. Do you always do it in Phoenix?
No. So we've done it because I was starting it this year. We did in Phoenix because this is where I live now. And so next year, Phoenix, but in 2024, we'll be on the East Coast.
Yeah, we did the same thing. We did Dallas year 1, Fort Lauderdale year 2, and now we're going back to San Antonio, and then we'll probably do Phoenix next year.
Nice.
So we're bouncing around.
That is so cool.
Because most people that attend these events are usually local, so you got to go where the people are.
That's true.
It's very true. A lot of people, there is people that travel, but it's not very many. Usually, you're always going to get a big local crowd whenever you do events, which is why. This is a side question. How do you promote your event locally? Because that's a huge driver to get people to come.
That's a great, amazing question, because most people wouldn't think about that. I didn't think about this until somebody brought it up. So trying to get on local news, and it's going to be really, really hard to do. But if you try to get on local news, and there's a nuance to it, not nuance, it's like an art, how to get on, like you need to be like the week before and all. It's crazy. But getting local news, but also local, like since I'm real estate investor meetups, announcing it there, just really trying to get around other people in the area. But at the same time, it's rather hard. It's not the easiest thing. In fact, like local area RIAs or real estate investor groups, they're not going to want to promote your event because it's not their event. And so it's hard. And now we are going to start working with Facebook ads just to let people know that it's there. Just, hey, it's out there. If you're already in Phoenix, there's a lot of investors in Phoenix. You're already here. It's a big area. Just come to the conference. So, but we have people literally flying from all over the country, because with my podcast, with all of my friends who have their own podcasts and YouTube channel, their own audiences, we're nationwide. And so people have flown in. I would say we had 200 people for our first event. I want to say maybe 30, 40 of them were local. The other, let's say 160, 170.
That's a good fly-in crowd. That's a definitely good fly-in crowd. 100%.
Yeah, I was really blessed with that. So yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a really good flying crowd. We try and do local, and we tried to the RIAs, and we did radio ads last time. We're thinking about doing TV, but you got to find like a local media buyer. But TV ads can be a little bit pricey. But it's all timing too. The week before, that's what we did like a month before, and we didn't get nothing. So it's sort of like we're experimenting, because like
how does the radio go?
Radio, it was interesting. We put like $5,000 towards ads to radio for the event, but I think we did it all too soon. We should have done like a shotgun approach the week before, versus because most people that are local, they're just gonna, hey, I'm free that day, let me just stop by.
Totally.
Whereas
So
people that are flying in, they're gonna block off that whole time they come in.
Yeah. So how did you mark? Is there a way? Because I was thinking, how would you know if radio actually worked? Which would be good if you did. Like if you give like a promo code for them to get a ticket or something like that, that's specific, only used on the radio, so you can see if it actually worked.
So I created a whole website. I copied my event website and put a whole new website out there just for that.
Oh, good idea.
With phone number and all that stuff. So I had phone number campaigns, a whole website just for Fort Lauderdale event, and just built it out like that and just copied over my website.
That's a great idea. How did it go?
We had a lot of clicks, We had a lot of clicks, but no, like I said, it really didn't do very well. I think we stretched it out too far versus doing right before the event, and I think that was a mistake. But like I said, we're just testing the water to see if it worked. But I think if we do it again, we'll try and do like a shotgun approach, like a week before the event. Let's just hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard right before the event. But it's a lot of unknowns. If you've never done an event before, if you've never had to promote an event, it's different.
Yeah, the biggest way that I've promoted is newsletter for the conference, but then getting on other people's podcasts. Like right now, we have 35 speakers that are coming. They all have their own podcasts, their own audiences, and getting them to bring their audiences. That's the number one thing, is saying, hey, I want you to realize that this is a conference for your audience, for us to build a big community of awesome people getting together, helping each other out. And so that was one of the biggest ways to get people to come, was because of, hey, we're bringing so many other great speakers that are expert investors that are just going to be there to help you. So that was what helped me the most to bring. So from my own, I think I brought maybe 50, no, maybe a 60 people just from my own brand, from Master Passive Income, and my podcast that I have. Like that's how a lot of people found me. But the other 140 came from the other speakers.
And I think that's a huge point for everybody else too, is that one thing I didn't do very well with is put my pressure on my speakers to bring people, because it's an exchange of value. If you're going to give them an opportunity to speak, make sure you put out some marketing to your own list and to your own email list and on your own podcasts and platforms that you have built up to push it out as well.
A big one is getting on their podcast and just talking about not talking about the conference like as just, kind of commercial, big, long commercial, but what it can do. I'll give you an example for the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference. Rubicon is all about community and how investing gets better when we're helping each other out. Yeah. And the tack that we're taking this year on any interviews that I go on their shows, it's talking about how we can, like, a rising tide lifts all boats. And this is the best time ever that's going to be coming right now that you need to be investing in real estate. And if you have other people that are encouraging you, helping you, coaching you along, you're going to be that, especially if you have a community of people that are doing it, you've seen that they're successful. Anyways, that's the route that we're going, is helping them to realize that they need this community as opposed to anything else. Like we're taking that direct rather than just a sales pitch or like a commercial for the conference.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I heard at an event recently how there was like 600 people in the audience, and like, look to your left, look to your right. There's going to be like half the room isn't going to be here next year just because they're going to fall out of business. And I even saw a statistic, I don't know how true it is or not, but I just saw it recently, is that there's like 1.4 million agents in the US, 800,000 of them haven't closed the deal this year, which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me, but it goes to show that people, if you're not hanging around the right people actually doing the business, you're going to fall right out of it, and you're just going to be another statistic.
Totally.
Which is crazy. So you are Dustin Heiner on Facebook. You have a free course. What's in your free course that you provide at masterpassiveincome.com/free course?
Yeah. So everything I talked about, how to build the business. In fact, literally what I teach all my students, I'll literally give it to you. It's a free course: building the business, finding the right properties, scaling your business to quit your job. So yeah, you go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course. But I also do have if you're listening on the podcast, more than likely you have your phone. If you text the word rental, RENTAL, rental to 33777. Rental to 33777. It'll literally just, send it right to you. You just got to put your email address in so it'll send it to your email. But what I'll do is I'll give that to you. And I've even had people just take that and start investing in real estate, which is amazing. People listen to my podcast and just jumping, hey, Dustin, I listened to your podcast. It talked about house hacking. I bought my first house hack and now I'm living for free in my property, all that sort of stuff. But also on Instagram, look up the Dustin Heiner, THE Dustin Heiner. I'm not that arrogant. It's the only, handle I can find, but the Dustin Heiner on Instagram, I'm there as well. But yeah, so I got my podcast, the Master Passive Income podcast. It's literally just a solo show, me just teaching how I do this, like what I do with all my students. YouTube channel, I have all the giving out of all that coaching basically on there as well. But yeah, I just love to see people change their lives and be a part of helping 1 million people become financially independent. So it's a lofty goal, but hey, if I get off the ground at all, I'm changing people's lives.
Yeah, this is my goal personally. I had a client a few months ago, probably about 6-7 months ago. He hit a 6-figure month. So I'm like, my goal is helping more clients hit 6-figure months.
Oh yeah.
So That's my goal. And like
That is so cool.
now it's just like, okay, with 6-figure months, I already had one. I can have thousands. So
You sure can. Yeah,
now
you've done it once. You can do it over and over again. Just like my students becoming successfully unemployed. I've had many students become successfully unemployed. We just got to get them figure out how to get it, how it is that they're going to be able to get there, and we can do it.
yeah, and it's just going. What is a quote that is yours or somebody else's that you resonate with?
Oh, so I love. Well, there's a couple of them. So I'll give you two, but this is the first one. A smart man learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from other people's mistakes. So learn from Daniel and myself. Like in our investing, like we'll show you our mistakes so that you don't have to pay that same price that we either money or time. Learn from mistakes from other people. So you want to be wise. The last one, I love this quote. When is the best time to invest in real estate? Or sorry, when is the best time to plant a tree? Well, that was 20 years ago. The next best time to plant a tree is today. Same thing with real estate investing or land investing. Like if you don't do it today, you don't want to be looking back 20 years from now. Oh man, I was listening to Daniel's awesome podcast and I knew I should have invested back then, but I didn't. You don't want to be that. You want to say, I'm planting that tree today.
One thing I'll say about that quote is that if you waste a year, you waste 2 years, you actually waste double that, because where you would have been by actually doing the action for 1 to 2 years, you now have 2 more years to get to that same spot. So you actually have 4 years. If it's
That's a good point.
Or 20, if you wasted 20 years, it's 40 years of time you wasted just to get to the same position. So it's a lot. It's a lot of people think it's hard. It's just doing action, small steps, baby steps. You get up a mountain one step at a time.
Totally.
There's a lot of nuggets in this show. I really appreciate you coming on. For everybody here, please go check him out. Please check out his YouTube channel. Please check out his free course, masterpassiveincome.com/free course. We appreciate your time. Is there, we already did all that, where people can find you. But we appreciate your time. Dustin, thanks for coming on. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, Daniel.
The show is sponsored by The List Guys. Do you need more leads in your local or virtual market? 1 in 10 small businesses don't invest in any kind of marketing. The List Guys have over 35 plus list types to choose from, and you can mix and match any list or criteria. We also use the skip trace list and provide up to 7 numbers and email addresses. Every list you purchase will be scrubbed against previous purchases. The List Guys are here to save you time. Contact the List Guys today at www.1listguys.com. That's www.1listguys.com.